So next tape is I'm trying to do these in 10-minute segments, sending these off to Team Steadfast. And now we've got them to Ireland, leaving and heading off to America. Will take a few days. And we've identified the 2, the 4, the 5. 2 again is John J. Astor and Stead. The 4 is John J. Astor, Stead, Guggenheim, and Strauss. The 5 is those. We have not yet defined the 5. So now this is going to be the 5 tape. And I think this is tape number, 5 or 6, 10-minute intervals. So in careful reflecting, the 4 really are not sharing with anybody any information that they are wondering what the heck is going on. Why are the others, which have been defined, not on the ship? And John J. Astor and WT are coming up that some people we would call, they called those. And those were people in the world, particularly in America and Europe, that would want the 4 and 5 eventually dead and never to see America. And we instead named them the 2, the 4, the 5, the others, and the those to be succinct and quick in transmissions on the Marconi. The those he described as those that would not want Stead alive. He postulated that possibly somebody had shared that at Carnegie Hall. He was not only going to do the peace forum, he was going to name names. The Jeff Epsteins and the Harvey Weinsteins of the world would want Stead dead. And John J. Astor goes, whoa, there are those in the world that also would want me dead because I am not in favor. I'm questioning this Federal Reserve Bank concept. It's not federal, it's not a reserve, it's not a bank, and it's centrally controlled, not by the government, but controlled by those. And those may be some of the others, but those were people in America and Europe, and particularly in politics, in clergy, in banking, who were wealthy and in power and in the know, and in the biggest thing, in control, to really take the world currency and the drive that makes everything happen totally within their network of influence, of power. John J. Astor was very concerned about that. Stead understood the concept, but not like John J. Astor did. Well, in reflecting with the 4, Isidore and Guggenheim both shared they too had concerns about the Federal Reserve Bank, and possibly they too would be not desired to get to America by those and the others. So the dots slowly, not with ink being connected yet, but with light pencil, start to be connected. And the thought was maybe the ship was going to be in peril? Kind of the what now? Because the others didn't get on board. What did the others know they didn't know? The what next? Trying to connect the dots. Would they be in peril? And they hadn't even contemplated the what if yet. The what if, what would that mean? The what if this happened? What if that happened? But certainly the 4 were starting to connect the dots that something was amiss, something was awry, something did not make sense. Those 4 really felt, what's going on? So they met daily to try to really contemplate what was going on. Oh yeah, what's going on? What time is it? What time is it?
T-minus 30.
T-minus 30, I can do that. Oh yeah, come here 1 second. Oh yeah. So Oliver come out for inspiration. I wanted, oh yeah, for some inspiration. But T minus 30, this is doable. So, in their careful conversations, Stead had independently connected with Archibald Butt, who he did not previously know. But the two of them put together that they were both summoned at the request of Taft. Butt had approached Stead initially because Butt knew that Taft had approached Stead to do a present on peace at Carnegie Hall. Butt shared with Stead, after they established a rapport, that he too had been summoned by Taft for and commissioned for a job. He didn't share that initially with him, but then he had kind of heard something was amiss, so he shared with Stead that he had been summoned to go to the Vatican to get information on the Taft's upcoming opponent, Wilson. And with information, that possibly meant dirt. And why would the Vatican know dirt on anybody? Well, the Vatican over the years probably started to know dirt on everybody. They were the information center of the world. For example, if you were a Catholic leadership person in one of the great cities of Europe or America, and you got information behind your little confession door of bad things happening in business, bad things happen with people personally, you would have information that if you wanted to possibly work up in the hierarchy of the Catholic Church, just for the record, most of the Catholic Church are great folks and great men and great people, but some aren't. Going to the Stead thought that humans are humans, but not all humans are good people. So they would share that information up the line, that if something was bad, something was amiss, and obviously the Vatican ultimately would get that information, because if you wanted to work your way up in the church in the future, the Vatican might need that information. And that information and dirt could maybe help you get ahead. Well, guess what? Archibald Butt got that information on Wilson. And that information was he was a racist. And now think of what's going on. The five now were put together with the inclusion of Archibald Butt. Stead was the linchpin between the five, and they all shared information. So think of this. They all understood the dots were connecting. They wanted one, Archibald Butt dead, because if he got to America, he was going to share information that would tip the hands of what was going to go on in the upcoming presidential election. Taft would be president, Wilson would be out, the public would not accept the information likely, so they wanted Archibald dead. Federal Reserve, those people who wanted the Federal Reserve to pass would certainly want John J. Astor dead, probably Isidor Straus, and maybe Guggenheim. And then finally, W.T. Stead. Absolutely, many, many, many people wanted Stead dead. So dots were connected. The five were convinced something was awry, something was amiss. Their arrival in America may not happen. And what if it did? It wasn't going to happen. And what if it didn't? How would that come to be? How would you possibly bring down the Titanic? Well, it was unsinkable, so obviously that wasn't going to happen. So then they thought possibly there was people on board that were going to take these five out. Maybe throw them overboard, maybe somehow individually, these five were history. Dead men walking.